Boy, Ward, I'm in a real stew today. I don't know.
No, Carl.
Yeah.
We're making stew today. You're not in the stew.
Oh, thank you so much. So, what's that? Yeah, so we're making old-fashioned beef stew, and of course, I'm Chef Carl, Food Whisperer, and I talk to food. So, YouTube, and we'll be right back.
Chef Carl, Food Whisperer, taking the mystery out of cooking.
So, what we're going to do, I have some stew meat already diced, it's chuck, and I got some garlic and olive oil. I'm going to put the olive oil in this pan behind me first, get it screaming hot, add the stew meat, add the garlic, and then every 5 minutes we're going to stir it for about 5 to 10 minutes. So let's get this going here. So what I'm going to do is add a couple tablespoons of olive oil and let that get nice and hot. It should take about 2 minutes. And then I'm going to add the stew meat, which is diced about 1-inch pieces. See if it's, I'm testing this with a small piece of meat to make sure it's nice and hot, and as you can see it's sizzling, so I'm going to put the rest of the meat in. This is about 2 pounds of cleaned, trimmed chuck. About 1-inch slices, but you can cut it as small as you want or as large as you want, but if you cut it too large, it's going to take longer to heat. I'm going to give it 1 nice tablespoon of chopped garlic. Now I'm going to cover it. Let it stew for about 8 minutes. Stir it a few more minutes, and then we'll start adding the spices, the wine, and the beef stock. So what I'm going to do now is take off the lid, stir it one more time, add 1 cup of burgundy wine and 1 cup of beef stock. Woo, looking good. Starting to smell nice. We'll just you don't have to use a $50 bottle of wine. Just that's your store brand. It's good. And 1 cup of beef stock. We may add another cup later. Okay. Now we're going to cover it. Try to stir it up a little bit. There we go. We want to give that 15 or 20, about 15 minutes. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, this was about 2.5 pounds of chuck arm or chuck roast. And the reason I wanted, it's really nicely marbled as you can see, but it does have quite a bit of fat. Between the 2 chuck roasts, I probably took about 1 pound of this off. Don't throw it away if you got an animal. I'm going to cook it off later tonight, cool it down, and feed my dogs a little bit with the dog food from time to time. So I diced some ahead and just hunk it. Make sure you have a sharp knife. About 1 inch. Some are going to end up being a little bigger. And a little fat's not going to hurt you. It's all going to cook down. And keep your fingers back. Like Ward said, when I'm cutting, I'm moving my fingers back like this. So there's the chime, so it must be time to get going. Get cooking, as it were. Okay, that looks good. 1 second. Now it's been about 5 minutes. You can hear it sizzling. I don't flour my meat, and it's getting a little brown now. And this is a nice pot to use. We're going to give it about 5 more minutes or so. Now that I showed you how to dice the meat, and like I said, remember, dice your trimmings up, saute them or bake them off for your pets, but let it cool down. So I'm putting this meat on the side, and I'm going to make another batch of stew when I get done with this batch of stew. Oh boy. I can start selling this stuff. Now we're going to add the spices, the beef base, and give it a stir, and some diced tomatoes with juice, about a half a can. And it's looking pretty darn good. So what I have is a little bit of rosemary, dry rosemary. I prefer fresh, but I couldn't find any. About a tablespoon of Italian spice, which is oregano and basil and all that good stuff. 2 or 3 nice bay leaves. Now what I'm going to do, oh yeah, and then 1/3 of a cup of beef base, plus or minus. Now it's getting that beef flavor. Okay, this is a can of whole tomatoes or juice. I took the tomatoes out and I cut them to like 1-inch pieces. I'm going to use a half a can, but you can use a whole can. It's up to you. Oh, what the heck. Use the whole can. And you can't go wrong with butter. Just make sure there's no paper left on it. I'm going to let that simmer. We'll stew it. We'll stir it in about 4 or 5 minutes and add our vegetables. Well, the vegetables we have that we're going to put in, it's going to be carrots, and I don't particularly like frozen carrots. So I put them in chunky as you want, but if you have nothing else, go with a frozen carrot. This is for the second batch. And again, as Ward said, let's move our fingers back as we're chopping. So, we also have nice mushrooms. I just wiped them off. And when they're in the pot, I'm going to squeeze lemon on to help keep them nice and white and stuff. And after on top of that, cut a few, they call these new beef potatoes. Get the smallest ones you can get. And there you have it. So now this has been simmering with the spices and the beef base and everything for about 10-12 minutes. I'm going to add the vegetables, which are celery and onions, the fresh mushrooms, which I just wiped off and cut in half. And then I got about 8 ounces of IQF pearl onions and about ounce, 2 ounces of IQF peas, and you don't have to put peas in if you don't like them, but I do. I'm also going to squeeze lemon on top of the mushrooms when I put them in to help keep them nice and bright. So, I'm going to open this up. Starting to get some nice color here. And now I'm going to add the celery and carrots, kind of move them all around. About 8 ounces of mushrooms, and if you don't like mushrooms, don't put them in. And I just wipe them off. And I'm not going to put in this onions and peas for about another 10 minutes because I want the onions not to fall apart. But what I will do is try to get this lemon juice on as much of the mushrooms as I can. And I use basically 1 whole lemon. I keep my fingers in there to keep the and actually, I'm going to put about 9 big new potatoes that I cut in half, and now we're going to just let this all cook, and then I'll wrong lid, and then I'll stir it up later. So we're going to leave this go about 10-15 minutes. Now I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. And it's been close to 20 minutes with the vegetables in. I'm going to stir it up. Then I'm going to add the peas and onions. Stir it up. I'm going to taste the stock, the juice, and we'll decide if we need to add another cup of beef broth. And I'm also going to add a half a can of real beef gravy from Gordon's Blackstone, and it's delicious. And as I said, it's about 8 ounces of frozen pearl onions, which I thawed, and about 2 ounces of peas, but you don't have to put the peas in if you don't like it. I'm going to taste the gravy, the stock. Getting there, but we evaporated a lot of the stock out, so I'm going to add 1 more cup of beef stock. This happened to be organic, but it's only because it was on sale. Add a half a can of this. This is 50 ounces of the beef gravy. Stir it up nice. See the beef has got a nice color. Taste it 1 more time. think it needs one more. It's a little bit salty. Now it's got a nice color. I'm going to give this like 20 minutes and we should be about done. Alright, so this was the last phase of our cooking the beef stew, and this time it took around 20 minutes. I think the whole process from start to finish is going to be about an hour, 10 hour, 20 minutes, plus or minus, depending how big the vegetables were and how large you dice the stew. So we're going to serve it up now, and we'll see what happens. Look at that. Looking good. So I'm going to shut this off. And we're going to take it over to the table here. Dish it up, and then I made some Parmesan bread. So let's do it. Holy crap, Mola! Now, it's a little thin, but by tomorrow it tightens up, so I didn't want to add any more liquid. Maybe just a little more. Get a few of those pearl onions in there. And you can serve it with a little bit of Parmesan bread. Put this over buttered noodles. And I could have cut back just a hair on the beef base. You can always add more. The old saying, add more. You can't take it out. But I think it looks pretty good. So, I'm Chef Carl, Food Whisperer. I want to thank all the first responders, people out there working. Thank our military. And let's pray for peace on earth. And subscribe to Chef Carl Food Whisperer on YouTube. And I love all of you. And this is going to be so good. Bye.